Rouge Smoking Eau de Parfum is already a very loved perfume in a fragrance community, but this year came out its flanker Rouge Smoking Extrait and became a huge hit. How these two smell, what are the differences, and which one might work better for you, you'll find out in this detailed review and comparison. And welcome back, I'm Miri, and on this channel we talk in depth about fragrances. Rouge Smoking was inspired by glowing red lights in infamous Quartier Pigalle, Parisian red light entertainment district known for its energetic nightlife. Creating a fragrance that will become an olfactory representation of the vibrant and seductive energy of Pigalle district was quite a feat, and by popularity of Rouge Smoking, obviously a very successful one. The name Rouge Smoking might be a bit misleading if you're not a French speaker just like me. You might expect to smell some vetiver or tobacco in its composition, giving this smoky touch to the scent, but there's no such thing because Rouge Smoking actually translates as red tuxedo, painting a picture of cabaret dancer in red tuxedo getting ready for her performance in Pigalle district. Personally, I love BDK bottles. The minimalistic approach works so well contrasted to the red juice of the perfume that will stain your clothes, so be careful while spraying. While Extrait has crimson red colored glass bottle, making the scent even more eye-catching on your vanity. Bottles are obviously captivating at a first glance, but let's dig into the way these two smell. So let's start with the original. I love these atomizers and the way they spray a very generous mist, either on your skin, either on clothes. So the opening is, well, a bit medicinal, but that slightly synthetic vibe lasts only for a few seconds, and then I start noticing pink pepper, but underneath is a beautiful cherry with some rum amaretto effect, refreshed with a tart cake of bergamot. What I love about this opening is the fact that cherry, even though it is sweet and jammy thick, it's not a typical cherry liqueur or cherry candy type of scent you get in most of cherry dominant fragrances. Also, it's not 100% photorealistic natural scent of freshly picked cherry either, because in combination with tart bergamot and this slightly ticklish pink pepper, this cherry has a fizzy quality that just immediately draws me in. And because of that, fizzy peppery cherry, many compare this opening to the scent of root beer, but here in Croatia we don't have root beer. However, I can understand the comparison to Dr. Pepper because the opening does smell a bit like carbonated combination of some cinnamony, peppery spices, a lot of cherry and fizzy soda. I love the addition of pink pepper here and bergamot, giving a fresh lift to the scent and preventing it from being too heavy, too sweet, or even too serious. So yeah, the opening does smell like spiced fizzy cherry soda with some freshness, giving it a bit of sparkle and making it full of lively joyfulness. However, cherry is quite fleeting. I can still smell its traces in the heart, but in the base, cherry is completely unnoticeable on my skin. Instead, it's replaced with a very prominent vanilla that isn't sugary, edibly, cloyingly sweet, but rather powdery, marshmallowy soft. Also in the heart, heliotrope is very noticeable as well, enhancing powdery softness of vanilla and together with tonka giving this almond marzipan-like vibe. So in the heart, Rouge Smoking Eau de Parfum becomes amazing spicy cherry and almondy vanilla combo that reminds me of the scent of freshly baked almond vanilla cake with cherries that still smells perfumey but also very delicious and just addictive. And then as it dries down, Rouge Smoking doesn't go through drastic changes. It has a very smooth, almost linear feeling transition in which tonka and vanilla grow stronger with time, making the scent sweeter. Also, Rouge Smoking becomes a bit muskier, a bit woodier in the base, so don't expect this to be a very cherry-forward fragrance because it's not. Cherries are noticeable in the opening, they softly linger in the heart, but mostly as the fragrance progresses, they are pushed into the background. So this is a vanilla dominant scent enriched with powdery, almondy, musky, and woody facets in the dry down. I really enjoy that it has a gourmand flair without being too sweet or too edible smelling, and also it has a lot of depth. So this becomes a gorgeous blend of pillowy musk, soft powdery vanilla, some woody tones, and plush roasted almonds, giving impression of vanilla almond cake served on a wooden plate with a Christmassy spicy flair in the distance. Rouge Smoking is very elegant fragrance but also very playful. It's cozy but sensual and flirty at the same time. I think it's amazing, and if you haven't noticed so far, I really love it. This was the first BDK fragrance I ever tried, and it hooked me onto BDK as a perfume house. I used to have just a 10 ml decant of it, and I used it up in a few weeks, and then I purchased this full-size bottle. And now you can see I already have like a 10 ml dent in it. I was simply captivated by it from the first sniff, and the way it smells red in the opening, giving this fizzy, spicy cherry soda feel that over time becomes a bakery, powdery, marzipan-like vanilla and cherry with still noticeable spicy fizzy twist, but spices are much softer, much fluffier, and woodier as the scent dries down. So in my opinion, this is a very balanced, coherent scent that is perfect for colder weather and definitely more feminine because it becomes much sweeter as it dries down. Also, performance is moderate. I get about 6 hours of longevity on my skin, but projection lasts about an hour, hour and a half, and then it sits close to the skin. I was complimented only once while wearing it, and I think that is because it's not a very loud or beast mode, room-filling type of fragrance. However, I really love the way it smells, and scent-wise, I would rate it with 10, but performance is like 6 out of 10. So overall, my rating for its scent and performance is 8 out of 10. However, I would absolutely recommend Rouge Smoking Eau de Parfum as a must-sniff feminine perfume in my opinion. And now let's talk about Rouge Smoking Extrait with 30% of oil concentration. That deeper crimson red color of the bottle indicates that this should be sexier, more intense, more cherry forward fragrance, and that is true because I get a lot more cherries in it and also a lot more darker tones in the dry down compared to the original. So Extrait opens with deep, dark, kind of smoky, a bit boozy cherry that has a lot of texture and that smells more meaty, if that's a word. Like you can almost taste its flesh, while underneath that fruity sweetness lays smoky, leathery wood with rum and some spices. So even though cherry has some sweetness, it isn't overly sweet and more noir smelling type of cherry that is less juicy and more meaty. And because of that, cherry in Extrait feels, well, less sparkling, less fizzy, less outgoing. It's more like muted down. It's fleshier together with citruses that provide like just a hint of shimmery light to this very rich and noir smelling cherry. So the opening smells like you took a bite of plump black cherry from your cocktail, treating your taste buds with all the delicious boozy cherry juice while biting into its plump, sweet flesh. The opening is really delicious, but I have to mention that the base notes appear really quickly in the perfume development. Actually, I can smell them right away from the first spray. Of course, they are in the background, and with time, they become more and more evident. So just be aware that from the start, you'll get a certain level of woody, smoky darkness lurking from the background. In the heart, amber really comes out, enriched with almonds original had as well, but also some spicy nuttiness coming from tonka bean. What I was truly looking forward in this Extrait version was the milk accord, thinking this will be even creamier, fluffier, milkier, well, more lactonic version compared to the original, but to my nose, that lactonic note, well, it doesn't smell like milk. It just provides certain smoothness and creaminess, softening leathery facets of saffron, sandalwood, and other woody, oody, darker notes. In the heart, Extrait is ambery, almondy, woody, smoky cherry with smooth, creamy leather nuances. In this stage, it feels like the scent zooms you out a bit of that, experience of tasting black cherry, and now you can see and smell your surroundings. You're in a smoky atmosphere of cabaret, watching the show while chewing some almonds and drinking cocktail with black cherries. This truly becomes a noir nighttime experience worthy of infamous Pigalle District inspiration. And then in the base, cherry slowly moves to the background. I like that they use Thailand oud here because it isn't animalic or skanky. On the contrary, it smells more like wood. And because of that, milk accord oud here is very smooth, it's creamy, it's clean, without any animalic dirtiness. In the dry down, rum gets stronger as well, while patchouli peeks out too, but to my delight, it's ever so slightly earthy and devoid of that damp, dirty character it can have in some other fragrances. Saffron still adds leathery, suede-like facets to creamy, woody almonds, while traces of smoky cherry are noticeable in the far background in the base. There is some vanilla here, sweetening everything up, but it's definitely overshadowed by other ambery, woody, boozy, resinous notes. So, Extrait becomes the scent of sitting on leather chairs in a smoky wooden interior of cabaret, still chewing almonds while you put aside your cocktail with black cherries and you enjoy the performance on stage. In contrast to the original that, as it develops, becomes softer, sweeter, and fluffier, this Extrait flanker becomes darker, woodier, and more leathery. Despite the fact that these notes might be polarizing to some, they always smell very smooth and fluid because of the milk accord, and the scent, well, it never completely loses its fruity, cherry-esque, and nutty character. But don't expect this Extrait to be a more gourmand or more intense version of the original. It doesn't have gourmand elements, it's simply a dark, mysterious fragrance that is perfectly unisex, even somewhat bit more masculine in the dry down because of the rum, oud, patchouli, woody, and balsamic notes. In my opinion, this is definitely a colder weather fragrance. I don't think it's office appropriate because it's dark and vampy. It's something you would use on a night out, but I guess you could use it during very cold days as well if you're walking outside. Definitely not something to use during daytime indoors. Also, longevity is pretty good. I easily get 8 hours of lasting power with moderate projection, so even though it won't fill a room, it's definitely stronger and a much better projector compared to the original. This is why it gets 8 for its performance, 8 for its scent, so overall, my rating for Rouge Smoking Extrait is 8 out of 10. If these reviews were helpful to you to imagine how these fragrances smell, then boop the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content coming up. And now let's compare them. First of all, to me, they are very different perfumes. So if you're wondering if you can have both without one being redundant in your collection, the answer is yes, you can own both. They do have similarities in the opening, but in the dry down, they go in different directions. I feel like Extrait has more similarities with Fragrance du Bois Cyrene than it does with the original Rouge Smoking. Obviously, I don't think these two are dupes or clones, but Rouge Smoking Extrait and Cyrene have cherry with woody darker base. So if you're curious how Cyrene by Fragrance Bois smells, I'll link my in-depth review of it in the description box so you can check it out after you finish watching this video. In terms of the performance, Extrait is obviously a stronger, bolder, and a better projecting fragrance, but what about their scent differences? In the opening of the original, cherry has this fizzy, sparkling, soda-like effect with slight boozy amaretto nuances, but mostly it's similar to carbonated fizzy cherry cola, while in the opening of Extrait, cherry is less vibrant, it's flashier, it's richer, it's boozier, it's deeper on my skin because base notes in it are noticeable from the opening, lurking in the background. So the opening of the original feels flirty and playful, while opening of Extrait feels like it completely embraced the night, giving vampire noir version of the cherry you got in the original. In the heart, both have almonds, but in the original, almonds are paired with a ton of vanilla and beautiful powdery floral aspects of heliotrope, giving gourmand, almost bakery-like, but still perfumey dimension to spicy fizzy cherry. To sum it up, in the heart of Rouge Smoking Eau de Parfum, you get powdery vanilla with almondy cherry, while in Extrait it seems like almonds were paired with some other nutty facets coming from tonka bean, but mostly in the heart, Extrait becomes an ambery, woody, leathery, smoky, nutty cherry. So the original is more gourmand, it's fluffier, it's a cozier fragrance, while Extrait has sexier, darker scent profile. In the original, vanilla and almonds are much stronger and dominant notes, while in Extrait, cherry and woods take the spotlight, so cherry is definitely louder in this Extrait version. And finally, in the base, both don't change much, they just become enriched with more nuances. The original gets a bit woodier, a bit muskier in the base, while Extrait becomes slightly earthier and more leathery because of the patchouli, saffron, and oud. Cherry completely dissipates during the development of the original, while in Extrait it still softly lingers in the background. The original is sweeter, it's more powdery, it's softer, it's a brighter scent, it's much more feminine, it's easier to wear, it's a lot fluffier, and because of that powdery vanillic character, it kind of smells abstract, while the Extrait is boozier, it's smokier, it's more ambery, balsamic, and darker scent, and because of that, it's more unisex nighttime fragrance that is louder, it's more defined because you can distinguish each note in it. They're about 50, maybe 60% similar in my opinion, and the one you will prefer will depend on your preference, whether you like darker or sweeter and softer scent profile. When I first tested Extrait, I was honestly very surprised about how different these two are, and if you absolutely love the original, it's not guaranteed you'll absolutely love Extrait as well. What I love about the original is the fact that among so many cherry fragrances that mostly feature cherry liqueur or syrupy candy cherry or even sometimes cherry cough syrup type of scent, Eau de Parfum gives you at first a very fizzy soda-like cherry that quickly turns into a powdery interpretation of cherry with almond undertones. So it's definitely unique, it's very different compared to other cherry prominent perfumes I own in my collection. I like powdery perfumes in general because there is something soft and inherently feminine about them, and that's why this cozy powdery heliotrope that wraps around my skin in Rouge Smoking Eau de Parfum, even though it doesn't project massively, it makes me feel so pretty, so cozy, just relaxed, while fizzy cherry gives the scent a touch of playfulness. So my absolute favorite, despite significantly weaker performance, is still the original. It stole my heart away. I prefer that it is feminine and sweeter, while I feel like I don't need the Extrait version because I already have something similar, and that is Fragrance du Bois Cyrene. As I said, they aren't dupes, but if I ever feel like wearing darker, more sensual cherry, then I'll go for Cyrene. Despite the fact that cherry stays noticeable in all stages of Rouge Smoking Extrait, while it dissipates in Cyrene after a while. However, if you're into darker, more unisex perfumes, if you would like cherry with a crisp and juicy flash and boozy, smoky aspects that feels sexy, nothy, mysterious, you will love Extrait. Choice of perfumes is always a personal preference, and it also depends on the way fragrance works with your skin chemistry. I just think that Extrait is a beautiful, well-done fragrance with all those darker notes getting incredibly creamy texture because of the milk accord, so I would recommend it with all my heart. I think this is a good new release if you're into darker cherry with patchouli and oud. But if you like more classical, powdery, sweeter fragrances with almonds, the original might be the one you will like more. But what do you think about these two fragrances? Which scent profile matches your preference and how they work with your skin chemistry? I can't wait to read your thoughts about them in the comments, and if you would like to watch another in-depth comparison between another two niche fragrances, then watch this video next. I will see you there. Bye!